Well, as you know, I have the privilege to honor Markowitz here at UC San Diego in 2015 on the occasion of the 25th anniversary of his winning the Nobel Prize, and at the Q Group in the fall of 2009, and at their memorial for Harry this past October. And I'm absolutely delighted to be here today to once again honor Harry's legacy. My relationship with Harry began more than 30 years ago. In the years leading up to the crash of 1987, I was a devil's advocate and warned that portfolio insurance and option replication strategy was a positive feedback trading strategy that had the potential to destabilize markets. Mark Rubenstein of Leland O'Brien Rubenstein Associates, the major purveyor of portfolio insurance, later wrote of my, quote, prescience in forecasting the Achilles heel of the portfolio insurance strategy. In 1990, I sent Harry and Paul Samuelson my manuscript about the rise of portfolio insurance and the crash of 1987. Paul wrote in response that many investors viewed portfolio insurance as a source of reassurance for stretched stock valuations, believing that they could make a fast exit after the turn, beating most of the mob. I had been skeptical about the feasibility of such a fast exit, and Harry agreed. Harry's response to the manuscript was very encouraging. He wrote, quote, "I find it comprehensive, scholarly, and convincing." So I subsequently sent him a copy of an updated draft to which he replied with a lengthy letter. Well, I was emboldened and I called Harry. Toward the end of the conversation, he said, "Bruce, is there something you wanted to ask me?" I replied, "Yes, Harry, in fact, there is. Would you be willing to provide a foreword for the book?" His response was, "I would be delighted to. Of course, it will depend upon whether I find something interesting to say." Indeed, he did. Harry's foreword to my book, Capital Ideas and Market Realities, Option Replication, Investor Behavior, and Stock Market Crashes, lucidly distinguishes between portfolio insurance and portfolio theory, and highlights their differing effects on financial market stability. My later book, Too Smart for Our Own Good, Ingenious Investment Strategies, Illusions of Safety, and Market Crashes, which covers the mortgage-backed structured products fiasco of 2007-2008 and the ensuing global financial crisis, distinguishes between risk sharing, reducing risk through Markowitz diversification, and risk shifting, shifting risk from one party to another, which can be fraught with peril if there is opacity and can lead to market fragility. In my discussions with Harry over the years, I learned that he liked my 1988 article with Ken Levy on disentangling equity return regularities using cross-sectional analysis, and our 1990 article on the integrated optimization of long-short portfolios. We were in the process of collecting our equity works into a book, and I asked Harry if he would again write a foreword. At a wonderful dinner with Harry and his delightful wife, Barbara, Harry said he would, once again, if he had something interesting to say. And again, he did. That foreword appeared in our book, Equity Management Quantitative Analysis for Stock Selection, published in 2000. It discusses why mean variance investors add constraints on security position sizes and sectors when optimizing a portfolio, despite the theoretical costs of those constraints. As Harry indicated, quote, constraints are added because the investor seeks protection against contingencies whose probability of disutility is underrated by mean variance approximation. Harry also wrote, it may be fairly asserted that Jacobs and Levy's work is based on mine, and my work is based on theirs. Their portfolio selection models are special cases of the Markowitz general model. This is the sense in which their work is based on mine. When colleagues and I built the DIWA portfolio optimization system in 1990, our expected return estimation procedures were based on Jacobs and Levy, 1988, our disentangling article. Thus, he said, our work was based on theirs. At about this time, my colleagues and I at Jacobs Levy published the article on the optimality of long-short strategies. This article examined the optimality of market-neutral long-short portfolios, and in deriving formulas for equitizing such portfolios, provided the theoretical underpinnings for 130-30 type strategies. We shared the article with Harry, and this initiated a collaborative relationship. Together, we addressed the optimization of long-short portfolios subject to realistic constraints on shorting, and published 2 works on this topic. People who knew Harry well know that he liked nothing better than to find a challenging technical problem to solve. The more difficult, the better. While he was a Nobel laureate in economics, he once said that he saw himself as more of an operations research type of guy. So Harry went on to create a simulation programming language, SimScript. In the early 2000s, Harry, Ken, and I discussed the idea of collaborating on the design of a financial market simulator. Like us, Harry was a computer nerd, and he often liked to joke that when his doctor asked him how he was doing, he would say, not so good, I've got a bug again. At the time, most financial market models were continuous time models that allowed for analytical solutions. What these models can't do is simulate markets in which changes in regulations or in the composition of market participants change the price process. Nor can continuous time models tell us whether the behavior of individual financial agents and market mechanisms aggregates to the observed market behavior. The Jacobs-Levy-Markowitz market simulator, JOIM Sim, by contrast, is an asynchronous time simulator which allows changes to unfold in an irregular fashion as the result of the actions and characteristics of participants and of the system itself. Market prices result from market participants trading in order to maximize their own individual utility. Price changes may be discontinuous, gapping up or down in reaction to events. We found that with the right mix of value and momentum investors, the market would be stable. But if there were too many momentum investors, prices could explode explosively. We also found that flash crashes, similar to those we've experienced, can occur when traders are not anchored to recent price levels. Like Harry, Ken and I believe that an asynchronous time model like JOIM Sim is better able than continuous time models to capture the reality of financial markets. JOIM Sim was presented in 2 articles which showed how changes in the proportions of various types of investors affect security prices, and how the simulator can be used to find equilibrium expected returns. Since we made JOIM Sim available on our website, it has been used by researchers in more than 70 countries. Before our collaboration with Harry on JOIM Sim, he developed a financial decision-making simulator for individuals. Harry's game of life model would ideally allow users to lay out their own savings, investment, and consumption goals based on their own actual incomes, savings, education, and skill sets, health, etc. A streamlined version of this game is incorporated in several products now available to help individuals plan their retirement finances. I am especially pleased that Harry's groundbreaking work in the field of retirement planning earned him the inaugural Wharton Jacobs Levy Prize for Quantitative Financial Innovation. The prize, which is awarded by the Jacobs Levy Equity Management Center for Quantitative Financial Innovation at the Wharton School, recognizes individuals who have undertaken outstanding quantitative research that has contributed to an important innovation in the practice of finance. After the global financial crisis, Ken and I tackled a problem that had long concerned us: the impact of financial leverage. Leverage, whether stemming from outright borrowing, from the use of derivatives, or from shorting, magnifies a portfolio's volatility. Modern portfolio theory implicitly assumes that portfolio volatility increases linearly with leverage. Ken and I started thinking about the risks of leverage that are not captured by MPT. Most significantly, there is the risk of margin calls, which requires the sale of portfolio holdings if additional capital is not provided. These forced liquidations are often at fire sale prices. We refer to these risks as the unique risks of leverage. Not only are these risks for leveraged investors, but also for the market overall, as the forced selling can have contagious effects. In order to limit portfolio leverage, investors often adopt the classic solution of incorporating a leverage constraint in portfolio optimization. Harry himself outlined methods for doing so in 1959. But constraints cannot solve the whole problem. An investor can determine the portfolio that is optimal for a given level of constraint, but which level of constraint is optimal? Mean variance optimization takes into account the trade-off between expected return and volatility risk. But investors need a method to take into account the trade-offs between expected return, volatility risk, and leverage risk. In a series of articles starting in 2012, we proposed adding to the MPT utility function a term that captures aversion to the unique risks of leverage. Just as an investor averse to volatility risk will give up some expected return in exchange for a lower volatility, an investor averse to leverage risk will give up some expected return in exchange for less exposure to the unique risks of leverage. The resulting mean variance leverage optimization model allows the investor to consider the effects of volatility risk and leverage risk, and provides a straightforward approach to selecting optimal portfolios. In general, use of a mean variance leverage model will provide optimal portfolios with more modest level of leverage than those based on the mean variance model. In response, Harry suggested an alternative solution, the development of a stochastic margin call model. We responded to this in the journal, but the important point is that increased awareness and consideration of leverage risks in portfolio formation can only have salutary effects for the market and economy. Jason Zweig of the Wall Street Journal quoted Harry and me. Conventional portfolio theory says not to hold all your eggs in one basket, says Jacobs. What that misses is that using leverage is like piling baskets of eggs on top of one another until the pile becomes unsteady. Borrowed money can make an optimally diversified and theoretically safe portfolio risky. Markowitz agrees. If you're a diversified investor who can afford to be patient, you should worry primarily about how you'll do on average in the long run. But if you're leveraged, then you can get wiped out before the long run comes. Keeping that in mind as you diversify, he adds, is very important. Harry graciously wrote the foreword to the second edition of our equity management book, now having the subtitle, The Art and Science of Modern Quantitative Investing. He wrote, some of the new sections include works on which Jacobs, Levy, and I collaborated, or in the case of leverage aversion, debated. So we have continued to build on each other's research. I'll show some exhibits that illustrate the results of mean variance leverage optimization. This chart shows efficient frontiers for various leverage tolerance cases across a range of volatility tolerances. Consider the three portfolios labeled A, B, and C. Portfolio A is optimal for an investor with a leverage tolerance of 1 and a volatility tolerance of 0.24. Of note, this investor prefers portfolio A to portfolio B, which has a higher expected return and the same volatility, and also to portfolio C, which has a lower volatility and the same expected return. This chart shows that instead of an efficient frontier, there is an efficient region. This chart shows the optimal amount of leverage, called here the enhancement. It shows that mean variance leverage optimization provides an efficient surface as a function of the investor's volatility tolerance and leverage tolerance. Here, for an investor with a volatility tolerance of 1 and a leverage tolerance of 1, the optimal amount of leverage is at point G, which is about a 130-30 long-short portfolio. You might ask, why did Harry work into his 90s? Barbara would ask Harry about retirement, and he would say, well, when I do retire, I want to do something I really enjoy. And that's what I'm doing now, every day, playing in my sandbox. Harry always believed strongly that theories, including his own, are improved by incorporating the innovations of others. That is why I feel confident in predicting that many future generations of researchers will benefit from his insights. We salute you, Harry, for your many contributions, past, present, and yes, future, because your monumental body of work will endure and be an inspiration to others. You will be missed. Your love of learning, your lifelong dedication to the field, and your knowledge creation. Your legacy will live on for generations. Thank you.